All right, man. Welcome back into the Double Coverage Podcast. Where now only one member of the podcast will be rooting for the Los Angeles Lakers this upcoming season. That is Javon. Me and my LeBron James Glorious King are free agents. We we're on the move. We don't know where yet. I'm hoping Golden State, LeBron and Curry.
Hoping.
I mean LeBron and Curry for a season would be electric. But
Yeah, all the games, the tickets are going to be so expensive. It's going to be crazy.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go when they come to Philly. But I digress. Hopefully, by the time you're seeing this, that prediction has become a reality. Time will certainly tell. This is a video that I anticipate everybody is going to love and agree with, and there's not going to be a single person in the comment section that disagrees. Today, we're talking about our overrated teams for the upcoming NFL season. Teams that we think are getting too much love and may disappoint some fans, some national media. I'm going to kick us off here, mostly because I only have three teams, and you told me you had like five or six ready to go. So I want to make sure I get my claim in on some of these guys. The first team that I want to talk about may be a shocker to you, because I don't think it's a team you'd expect me to say, but I have the Baltimore Ravens on my overrated teams list. And the Baltimore Ravens currently have the second highest odds in the AFC to win the Super Bowl at 11 to 1. The only team ahead of them is the Buffalo Bills at 10 to 1, which is the same odds as the Seahawks. Baltimore's coming off of a pretty disappointing 8 and 9 season where they failed to make the playoffs, they failed to win the division. Lamar Jackson has started to become a little bit more injury prone, I would say, over the last few years. And what concerns me is as he gets older, a lot of his game is dependent on athleticism. And we saw it a ton last year. Soft tissue injuries really started for him, hamstring injuries that hindered his mobility. And I think for Lamar to be the best version of himself, he needs to be a mobile quarterback, which he wasn't able to do at a high level last year. I question some of the weapons as well around Lamar. I know Derrick Henry's amazing, but eventually he's got to show some age. Mark Andrews is going to show some age. I question if Zay Flowers has the ability to be a true wide receiver one on a Super Bowl winning team. Um, they lost Tyler Linderbaum on that offensive line. They have a rookie coming in who I do really like, Ioane out of Penn State, but is he going to be as good as Linderbaum? In terms of impact, probably not. They have a first time head coach in Jesse Minter. There's some serious questions there. Their defense has vastly underperformed since Mike McDonald left. And I do think that Jesse Minter will make the Baltimore Ravens defense better. That is a point that I've said on this podcast, on video. So don't hear what I'm not saying there. But I don't believe he's necessarily locked into getting them back to the level that Mike McDonald had them at 2 years ago, where Baltimore clearly, to me, 2 seasons ago, looked like the best roster in the NFL. They were the one seed in the AFC. Lamar won the MVP. I thought that was their year. Kansas City did what Kansas City does and pulled one out, but I thought Baltimore was the best team that season. And now last year, Baltimore had the best odds to win the Super Bowl. Everybody thought Baltimore was about to break through. It all fell apart. And coming off of a season where it all fell apart, John Harbaugh gets fired. Players are another year older. We don't even know if Matabuke is coming back for that defensive line. Trey Hendrickson signed there, but he hasn't played meaningful football in a couple of years. It's just a lot of expectations for a lot of puzzle pieces to fit that they could fit, but right now the Ravens are being treated as if it's a guarantee that they fit. Putting them right next to Buffalo, close to the same betting odds as Seattle, who just won the Super Bowl. Buffalo, who was in the playoffs last year. Buffalo, who mostly stayed the same, in fact, got a little bit better. They added a good wide receiver one. Seattle, who just won the Super Bowl, has Mike McDonald. It feels a little too rich for my blood to say, yeah, Baltimore's clearly the second best team in the AFC, and that's what the odds say. I don't even think it's a lock that Baltimore wins the AFC North. But right now, if you look at the division odds, they're minus 115 to do so.
I mean, they got a lot of stuff going against them. Like all the stuff that you just brought up. Like that's why I've been seeing more and more people pick the Bengals to win. their division because like the Ravens, they've lost a lot of valuable pieces. Like and like you said, Zay Flowers, like, can he take the next step? Typically, guys as small as he is, they have a specific skill set and they don't really emerge into. We haven't really seen like a small receiver be an alpha dog receiver since
Hmm.
Antonio Brown or like, yeah, basically,
Tyreek
like,
Hill, but
oh,
but
well, yeah,
but Tyreek Hill had such an elite trait of his speed that made him like Zay. I don't think. I mean, don't get me wrong. AB was just kind of elite all around, but typically when you're that size, you have to be elite at something to make the impact at the wide receiver position. And I think Zay is really good to great at a lot of things, but I don't think he's elite at anything. I think he'd be much better served as a wide receiver too.
yeah, and then like they lost Isaiah Likely.
Hmm.
Like you said, Derrick Henry has a lot of tread on his tires. Linderbaum, brand new coach, first year head coach, so that's a whole
First time
new identity.
offensive coordinator play caller as well. Declan coming over from the Bears. He was their OC last year, but Ben Johnson calls the plays. Like this going to be this guy's first time as a play caller.
Yeah, and it feels like every other year it's talk about some type of talk about Lamar Jackson and his contract every other year. So, but when you combine that mixed with a whole new identity, mixed with losing very valuable pieces because you didn't want to pay them or whatever, you lose some very valuable pieces. I can understand why you would think that they got a lot of stuff going against them and why people picked the Bengals to win this division as well. Because the Ravens, man, it wouldn't surprise me if this year was like a 7-10 dud year, even with MVP caliber quarterback Lamar Jackson. It just wouldn't surprise me,
If
if
they
I'm
had a
being honest.
if they had a fully healthy Lamar in terms of like he was an MVP level
A
player,
whole
like
year?
you're saying, like that's what I'm saying. If you're saying he's MVP level, I assume that means he's playing the full season. If he played the full season, I'd be shocked if they missed the playoffs. But I don't think that just having a healthy Lamar is enough to be like, yep, this team is going to be back to 13, 14 wins. I don't believe that statement to be true. And based on the odds as to where Vegas has them, it feels like that's what the public feels with this team.
Yeah, I mean, I hope for the Steelers' sake that the Ravens suck because I
Yeah.
love beating up on the Ravens every year. Tomlin used to have his number. I wonder if it's just like a Steelers Ravens thing or if it was just Tomlin knew how
Hmm.
to coach against Lamar during the regular season. But I hope for the Steelers' sake that the Ravens suck this year. I hope they suck every year. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
fair
me
enough.
though.
I mean, and speaking of your Steelers, that last game we saw them play, how confident can you be in Baltimore special teams as well? Like,
Tyler Loop.
I think Loop can make a kick from virtually anywhere. I also think he can miss a kick from virtually anywhere.
It's mental, man. For
So
real.
that's for sure. Baltimore may be a surprise to some, but who's the first team on your list?
My first team is the Vikings, and I've talked about them before. I get it, bro,
I
but
think the Vikings are underrated, so we
I just
disagree
keep
here.
hearing people saying that they're a playoff team, and I don't know how. I don't see how. I don't know how people feel that way. Like all because of Kyler Murray. Like their entire season depends on Kyler Murray. That's like your pitch. Like that's your go-to. Like that's your go-to point is because of Kyler Murray. When he got cut by what are people saying is the worst team in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. Like the Cardinals didn't want you, and now you're gonna save a whole other franchise when the Cardinals didn't want you. The Cardinals, like, so that's just like you got to depend on Aaron Jones in the NFC to Aaron Jones Sr. to have or establish a good run game when there's so many other good rushing attacks and good defensive lines in the NFC already. Like I just, especially in their division, I just don't see how they compete. And I hear too many people saying that they're playoff contenders. I don't even think this team wins 7 games next year. I don't see their defense has created turnovers in the past. I don't think that's gonna happen this year, and I don't think their offense. You got an old ass tight end. Was it Hawkinson? Like you're relying on him. He probably has the worst contract in football right now, like top five. If I were to go through the
Deshaun
worst
Watson
contracts
is
in
still
football,
on a contract.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. One of like he's nobody's
Maybe for
as
a
bad as Deshaun.
non-quarterback.
Yeah, he's up there. Like when you can combine value with games played,
Yeah.
they just got some bad contracts. I just don't see how. Like It's just Justin Jefferson and friends out there, and we already saw what happened last year with JJ McCarthy. Justin Jefferson not necessarily quarterback proof, and I get it. Yeah, well, the worst quarterback play in football, and but he's not quarterback proof anymore.
Well, so that would be my argument for the Vikings, and I think so. I just kind of wholeheartedly disagree with you on the defense not being good. I think the defense is going to be good. They've been pretty consistently good under Brian Flores. I know that the Vikings as a team had a down year last year, and their defense last year wasn't as good as their defense 2 years prior, but I do think that they'll have a good defense this year. They drafted a guy that you really like in Caleb Banks as well, the defensive tackle. I think they shored up that defensive line. Last year, they tried to approach it with a lot of veteran players. They brought in a lot of older guys. It feels like this season they've kind of turned over to some new youthful talent. Caleb Banks, Dominic Citrus Orange. They got Dallas Turner now playing at the edge spot primarily.
Finally.
But so I do think that the Vikings defense is going to be good. I think the Vikings offense, the truth lies somewhere in the middle, right? Their offense last year had the worst quarterback play in football over the course of the full season, from JJ McCarthy to Carson Wentz to Max Brosmer back to JJ McCarthy. In totality, I don't think there was worse quarterback play for a single team last year, and they still won 9 games. However, I do think it's silly to be like, well, they won 14 games and their offense was electric with Sam Darnold, so that's just what Kyler Murray's going to do. Probably not. Sam Darnold's a better quarterback than Kyler Murray, but I think it's also important to note what offense he's coming into. Unless Kevin O'Connell makes changes to his offense, which we can talk about when and if we see it, he wants to be a pass first offense. That's why the investment in the running back room is Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. They want to be a primarily pass heavy offense. Sam Darnold is a much better passer than Kyler Murray. Where Kyler Murray, when he's at his best, can compete with Sam Darnold in terms of quarterback rankings would be his legs and mobility and what he brings to the table there. But I don't think that that's really necessarily what KOC likes out of a quarterback normally. Now, with what he's got, I'm sure he'll scheme it in there a little bit better, but I don't see this being some high flying Vikings offense. I just think the odds are very much so in their favor that it's a better quarterback play this year than last year, which, if that could just earn you one more win, probably gets you into the playoff contention. 2 more wins at 11 wins, you feel like that's probably a lock playoff team.
So you think it's more likely than not that this team makes the, or at least finishes over 500?
I would say that they finish. I would say I think it's more likely than not that they finish over 500. When I look at the NFC teams that I think are clearly better than them, I have the Rams, Seattle, San Francisco. Those 3 teams in the NFC West I think are clearly better than them. I'll take Philly. I'll take Dallas, and I would take Detroit and Chicago over them. And then somebody has to win the South. So like I'd have them as around the ninth best team in the NFC, kind of sitting around Green Bay and New Orleans, Carolina, that area. But like
I want to
somebody's
have
gonna have
faith,
an
bro.
injury somewhere, and
I think it's more likely than not it's the Vikings.
well, it could be Kyler. I mean, obviously, if that happens, then they're SOL.
I just like they went from my main thing is they went from having basically the worst quarterback play in football, and now they still have bottom 5 quarterback play in football. Like,
Oh,
look at all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Like,
well, I
who are
see.
you going to take?
I think that's just where we disagree. I would take
Besides the Brown situation, like you're gonna pick Kyler over Jordan Love or Bryce
no, no, no,
Young
no,
or
no, no. I'd take him over Geno Smith on the Jets for sure. I
I don't know.
I'd take him over the Browns room for sure. I
Those
think
two.
I think if my life depended on it, I would take him over Mendoza right now. We haven't seen him play.
Okay,
Um,
that's fair.
the Falcons room, Tua and Penix, I'd take him over them for sure. The Cardinals room, Brissett, I think I still think he's better than Brissett. I know the Cardinals didn't want him around, but I would take him over Brissett. And then I think like you get into interesting categories where it's like Kyler at his best is definitely better than Malik Willis, definitely better than what we've seen out of Daniel Jones, definitely better than what we've seen thus far out of Cam Ward. Although I believe in Cam Ward, so I don't like really want to like die on that. I think it's bottom half. I just don't think he's one of the five worst quarterbacks.
I haven't seen Kyler at his best in 3 seasons,
I mean, you're a
four
Steelers
seasons.
fan. Would you rather Aaron Rodgers or Kyler Murray?
I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers.
I think like they're probably around
Yeah,
close
that's
enough
true.
spot. So
That is close. They're definitely close. But yeah, that's just my argument. I just think Kyler Murray doesn't make the team
I,
better. That's just my opinion.
yeah, I think it's an upgrade from where they were last year, which also isn't saying much, though. To be clear, uh, the second team that I want to bring up here is the New York Giants. Um, I think it's cooled off a little bit from media. The numbers kind of have the Giants the way that I think it should be. In Vegas, they have the fourth best odds to win the NFC East, so last. They're basically plus money to do anything successful this year, which I think is correct. I've just seen a lot of people talk about the New York Giants as if this team is going to be the surprise team, be the Patriots of this year, the Seahawks of this year, like whatever, a team that goes from worst to first in their division. And I just give that flatly a 0% chance of happening. When you look around the NFC East, even if Jackson Dart has a good season, he's the fourth best quarterback in this division. You're not taking Jackson Dart over Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, or Jaden Daniels. That's just not happening. Malik Neighbors, that knee injury is very concerning. Like he still hasn't looked right. Did you see him at that softball game? I I
He
mean,
can barely run.
yeah, I don't know if you could even call it a run or a jog. Like he's not going to be ready for week one of this season. Everybody thinks Cam Scatabo is awesome, and I think Cam Scatabo might be like a fun fantasy pick. But do I think Cam Scatabo is revolutionizing an NFL offense? No, I don't. I like Isaiah Likely, but there's a reason why he never broke through the glass ceiling in Baltimore. Mark Andrews was consistently better than him every year, and even last year, Mark Andrews was better than him, and Mark Andrews wasn't a top five tight end in the sport. So I think Likely is an upgraded tight end for them, but I don't think he's a true weapon number one in the NFL. Their defense has some really good spots to it. Arvell Reese coming in, I thought was a really solid pick for them. They added to Abdul Carter and Brian Burns. That can make for a very scary pass rush. But they lose Dexter Lawrence, and they were already one of the worst teams last year in terms of run defense. So at the end of the day, I don't trust their quarterback to in running back, like their offensive personnel to sustain high level offense to put them in a position that's most advantageous to their pass rushers, which will dull the effect of them, which is why I think their defense disappointed last year. If you remember when we were going into the season last year and we did our top 10 defense rankings, I had them in my top 10. The
Yeah.
reason that they weren't that was because of what I just said. Despite having the elite edge potential in players, they were just never in spots for those guys to be effective because you could run up and down the field on them and their offense wasn't consistent enough. And there's a reason the Baltimore Ravens fired John Harbaugh. This guy, I do believe, can change a culture and add some stability to a team, which the Giants do need. But you're not getting Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan here. This isn't a guy that's going to walk in and just be a guaranteed double digit win season. Ultimately, I think the Giants, at best, double their wins from last year and finish as an 8-win team, which I think the expectation is being set so high that it would be a disappointment. But in all reality, letting Harbaugh come in, start to rebuild this team, and doubling up your win total from the season before is a massive success. But I think that's kind of the ceiling for this team, not 11 wins and NFC East champs.
You haven't even went over the schedule, so that
Yeah.
schedule is brutal, dog. Like you haven't even went over the schedule. If they win 11 games with the schedule they have, I might pick Jackson Dart over Jaden Daniels. I'm not gonna lie. If they can somehow muster 11 wins with the schedule that they have, I don't think it'll be crazy to say. There are gonna
Yeah.
be people saying that he's better than Dak Prescott than Jaden Daniels for
I mean,
sure.
they play Dallas Sunday Night Football to open the season, at the Rams Monday Night Football, Titans Cardinals, at the Commanders, versus the Saints, at Texans, at Eagles, versus Commanders, versus Jags, at Colts, versus 49ers, at Seahawks, versus Browns, at Lions, at Cowboys, versus Eagles. There's probably,
Four like games they'll be favored in, 4 or 5,
I mean,
maybe,
they'll be
maybe,
favored versus the Titans and versus the Cardinals at home. Um, versus the Browns at home.
maybe the Saints,
I think
maybe.
yeah, I think 3 games that I would favor them in on their schedule, and maybe because that first Commanders is in the middle of the season, maybe by then Jaden's not healthy, and then you get favored in that
You got
game.
to bank on that.
I'm just saying. So yeah, like again, and I again, it would be a massive success, I think, if the New York Giants won 8 games this year. But now that predictions are coming out, like this team's gonna win 10 games and be the dark horse playoff team, especially in the NFC, man. Like Philly, Dallas, Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, Carolina, New Orleans, Seattle, LA, the Niners. That's 10 teams that I think are just clear cut better than them. I didn't even list the Buccaneers or the Vikings or the Commanders in that statement.
The Cardinals.
Like, you like the Cardinals. I'm just saying,
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
but yeah, I can't get behind the Giants, man. I think it's cooling off a little bit, thankfully. I think there was a lot of buzz and hype more so a month ago, but I wouldn't be shocked if it picked right back up once we get training camp. Jackson Dart finds Cam Scattaboo on a wheel route. This duo's unstoppable this year.
I mean, their defense is nasty. I'll say
Their
that.
defense
Like,
has nasty personnel on it,
yeah,
but
individually.
I don't see why the unit would be better this year than they were last year. I am a big Arvell Reese guy, but do we think Arvell Reese in his rookie season is going to be a better player than Dexter Lawrence?
Oh no, they got Burns, they
But they
got
had
Edmonds,
Burns.
Javon Holland.
They
Yeah,
had
so
Holland.
yeah, I know. I'm saying they got some. Maybe Harbaugh can maximize
I
that.
mean, maybe. Again, maybe the defense takes a step forward, but if you can't stop the run, does it matter?
Yeah, they got Odell now, so who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, that's true. Odell is back. Who's the second team you want to talk about?
My second team is the San Francisco 49ers because people are for some reason relying on a team who was probably the most injury riddled team in the last 15 years. I think I saw a stat that said they were like one of the most injury riddled teams, at least in this decade for sure. And they all the main pieces that they've added or that they're relying on next season are injury riddled as well. So can you really say that they've gotten better this season? Maybe they've added better talent, but will they be better as a team? No, and I don't think they have a bright future as well because when that Brock Purdy contract starts ringing, and then you got Mike Evans, he's probably going to retire in the season or two, depending on how this year goes. I'm assuming that'll determine whether he retires or not. Trent Williams, like all of these guys you're depending on, George Kittle especially, like all of these guys you're depending on. I didn't even get to the defense. Like it just feels like a ticking time bomb, bro. And I see people like putting them on par with the Seahawks, putting them on not with the Rams, but basically the second tier. The 49ers are in that tier and they don't deserve to be there. I get it. Like last year, Robert Saleh coached his ass off and all the coaching staff on the 49ers, they coached their ass off basically. They made the playoffs and won a playoff game they had no business winning. We can all agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
next
that's why I
year,
think Kyle Shanahan should have been coach of the year. I think
yeah,
what he did being looked at as not an amazing accomplishment by some will forever baffle me because
yeah,
what could go wrong did go wrong for the 49ers, all but McCaffrey getting hurt last year. Like everything that could go wrong other than that went wrong. They had to play with a backup quarterback for more than a month of the season. Their best players on offense, other than McCaffrey, were consistently in and out the lineup. Their two best defensive players, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, suffered season ending injuries by the midway point of the season. And their first round rookie pick also suffered a season ending injury by the midway point of the season. the fact that that team won as many games as they did, and you could make a case genuinely that they, by the end of the season, were the third best team in football. I don't think I would have made that case, but you could have made that case, certainly
Yeah.
around top five, is outstanding. And to look at their roster now, obviously, like, injuries aren't predictive, like you mentioned, but McCaffrey coming off of like 450 plus touches and already
Holy
having an
crap.
injury history. Mike Evans already missed half of the year last year with a hamstring injury, and he's not getting any younger. George Kittle is coming off a torn Achilles. Trent Williams is 40 years old, playing left tackle. Pearsall's already been in and out the lineup all last season with injuries. Nick Bosa has dealt with injuries for a lot of his career. Fred Warner is the one guy that I think like last year's injury was like a little just kind of fluky and like not a predictive thing. I think like they'll more likely than not just have him for this year. But ultimately, this is a team where their fans, and I get it to an extent, are like, it's not fair. Like you're dinging us for things that you don't even know are going to happen, and it's like it's been happening for the last 5 years. Not to bake in that some of your better players are going to get hurt because they're just injury prone guys would be silly.
There's people saying that, like in training camp, Mike Evans is unguardable and all this. I see all the reports coming out of San Francisco. I just think, like, even 100% healthy, does this team make the playoffs, especially in that
I
division?
think
I don't
if you
know.
guaranteed me health, I would actually disagree with you then. If you guaranteed me health for the entire team, I would tell you I think they're a Super Bowl contender.
Mm. See, I
If you guaranteed me health, which like obviously you can't do, but if like this was a game, a Madden game, and you flipped injuries off, I would agree that this is one of the better teams in football.
Well, I do believe healthy they could be a good team, but people are saying that three teams are going to make the playoffs in the NFC East as well, or the NFC North. I mean,
Yeah.
like so it's not going to be three teams in two different divisions
Mm-mm.
that's impossible.
No.
So it's like if you told me they were healthy, would you really pick them to even make the playoffs healthy? Yeah, more likely than not, they probably would, but I'm still even 50-50 about that. So when you combine that with the injury history and everything, just them depending on all these injury riddled guys, it seems like I feel like their magic is gonna run out this season, you
So
know?
they're currently tied for the sixth best odds to win the Super Bowl. They're tied with the Detroit Lions, the New England Patriots, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wonder how that goes.
They have better odds currently to win the Super Bowl than the Philadelphia Eagles, the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Green Bay Packers, and then we start getting into some plus 2,500 teams.
That's
But
incredible. The Eagles?
they,
Wow, I'm
yeah,
shocked.
and I know that they did just beat them in a playoff game, so um, not gonna do some BS talking on the Niners because again, I give them their flowers for last year. Um, the third team I want to bring up is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Uh, I think that this team not was fraudulent last year because I do think that the successes they had last year were real. I just think it's over. I just don't see.
Wow.
I just don't think this team is getting back to the playoffs this upcoming season. I think a lot of things had to go right for them, and I think that they lost a lot of high level contributors already. I think that Travis Etienne played a massive role in this offense as their lead rusher. He had what was it, like 1,500 yards from scrimmage last season, something like that.
Combined, yeah.
Yeah, he was just absolutely nasty, double digit touchdowns. He was their best offensive weapon. He's gone. Devin Lloyd, the center point of their defense at the linebacker position, I think last season was the best player on their defense. I think in totality, Josh Hines Allen is the best talent that they have on their defense, but I think of players that played for them last season on their defense, Devin Lloyd was the defensive MVP, if you would, of the team. I think Matthew Stafford was the MVP of the league last year, but I think Mahomes is the best quarterback. Similar here. I think Devin Lloyd was the MVP of the Jags defense, even though Hines Allen's the best player. He's gone. And if you guys know me, you know linebacker I think is massively underrated. I think the guy in the middle of your defense that orchestrates things makes a huge impact. Right after that Kansas City game when he had the pick six against Mahomes, he was the odds-on favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. So I think they lost two massive contributors there. The Jaguars now become a very Trevor Lawrence dependent team, and coming from a guy who really once believed in Trevor to a high extent, I view him mainly now as a game manager kind of guy. I think you could win a lot of games with Trevor, but Trevor's not going to be the driving reason. I know he kind of Mickey Mouse got his way into the MVP conversation last year. I don't think that he really deserved to be there, but at the end of the day, they did win 13 games, and he had a really good last 2 months of the season. And then Lamar was down, Mahomes was down. Burrow wasn't in the playoffs. Guys with big Jordan Love didn't play the last month of the season, so then Green Bay fell off. Like I think a lot of different things did happen that led to him getting there, but he got there. I just wouldn't view him going forward as some top tier level quarterback that can be some ultimate driving force to an offense. Like I think it'd be the same way that I view Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott, where with the right talent around them, they can put up certainly impressive numbers. And if the roster is loaded, they could even win a Super Bowl. But the Jags roster isn't loaded. The Jags draft class I thought was pretty bad, if we're being completely honest. I look at this wide receiver room, it's deep, but is it high level? Jacoby Myers is cool. Is he their one? Is Parker Washington their one? Is Brian Thomas the guy we saw his rookie season, or is he the guy we saw last season? Who's running the ball for this team? Chris Rodriguez? Bashaw Tupin? Like, you talked about the Vikings' lack of rushing offense earlier. I'll take their running back room over the Jags right now. Their defense is
Yeah,
primarily the defensive line and the edge of Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen, but unless Travis Hunter plays full time corner, which I think he will, they don't have a legit top tier corner by any
a
means.
proven one.
Like
Yeah.
their secondary's not great, and now they play a first place schedule. Like at Broncos, first Patriots, at Bengals, first Eagles, first Texans twice, at Ravens, at Bears, at Cowboys, all on their schedule this season. To me, this team screams from 13 wins to missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean like I've spoken about the Jaguars in the past too, and I completely agree with you. Any team that relies on Trevor Lawrence to win games or to even win a playoff game is a team that's massively in trouble. And I feel like the tale of the Jaguars last season, like it was like two tales to the story, you know?
Mhm.
Like the first half was really Travis Etienne really holding that team afloat, and the defense, of course, was consistent throughout the whole season. It got better as the season went on. But the second half of the season, that's when Trevor Lawrence really kind of turned it on after they made a trade or two, and they really started to get clicking after they traded for Jacoby Myers. That's when offense started to get clicking or whatever.
Yep.
And I just can't trust his inconsistency throughout the season, and I just don't trust him to lead a team. And my next pick, my final pick, when I talk about them, that's really gonna be my determining factor. Even though their team is drastically better than the Jaguars, you know.
Yeah, the thing is too, like if you're a Jags fan, I get it. If I was a Jags fan, I would say Liam Cohen is the next Sean Payton type play caller. I'd say Trevor Lawrence finally figured it out. Now that we got him a good coach, he's gonna live up to the potential. Like I would convince myself of all that stuff too. So if you're like typing away, I'm probably not really gonna argue with you because if it was my team, that's the way that I'd be feeling right now. But from an unbiased, stepped away position, I'm not going to look at 2 months of excellent football where a lot of those stats came from beating up the New York Jets, if we're being honest, as well. He had like 5 touchdowns in that game. Like, I mean, he beat them up, don't get me wrong, but it was the Jets. So,
Yeah, for real.
and the two big playmakers gone. They didn't replace those guys at all. The draft class never made sense to me. They took a tight end with their first pick, which was in the second round because they didn't have their first round pick. And then the same offseason, they've extended Brenton Strange. I liked the Pregnon pick, but they had a big need at corner. They never even took the shot on Jermod McCoy. They took Jalen Husky out of Maryland, and it's like if we're at the 336, dude, like you might as well just take the shot on McCoy at that point. Was kind of my whole argument there. But I just feel like there was a lot of players on the board for them in the draft that could have made more impact, especially if you're them and you were like, we just won 13 games, we have the head coach, they clearly feel like they have the quarterback. Like, it felt like their draft wasn't really going for win now. So, everything about them, honestly, right now, I'm kind of just off on. And then as a whole, I think the AFC is going to be better, right? Like, I know I brought up Baltimore earlier as an overrated team, and I do think that they're an overrated team, but I think they're better than the Jags. I think the Bills are better than the Jags. I think the Patriots are better than the Jaguars. I think Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers are better than the Jags. I would take the Texans in their own division over the Jags. I take the Bengals. I think your Steelers and the Jags is actually like an interesting conversation because they got
It's
worse this offseason and you guys got better. So
yeah.
again, like I think the Jags are probably around the ninth or 10th best team in the AFC.
The Jaguars, bro. I think this season, like, I don't want to say it's gonna like blow up the whole franchise because I don't know how bad they're gonna truly do. But if they mess around and win like 6 games, yeah, man,
And I
Trevor
also
Lawrence,
they also like can't afford an injury anywhere.
yeah,
Like I don't feel
those are
like they have any depth. Like let alone Trevor Lawrence, but if Brian Thomas or Jacoby Myers gets hurt, now what? Travis Hunter has to go back to playing wide receiver. So now you're down a corner too. Or Josh Hines Allen gets hurt. You have no pass rush basically now. They
those are
have
the
some
teams that
off
I'm least
they
confident
they
in.
have some offensive line depth. I mean, if Chris Rodriguez or Bashaw Tootin gets hurt, they're gonna pick up the phone and call me and you, see if we could join the practice squad at that
And
point.
I think Nick Chubb is a free agent or something like that.
Yeah, I
So
mean, they saw firsthand he couldn't do nothing by the end of last year in Houston. So,
are just worn out.
who's the last team you want to talk about today though?
You're not gonna like it, but my last team is the Denver Broncos. So I believe the Broncos are a playoff caliber team. Their defense alone, just like the Texans, like even with horrible quarterback play, that defense will will them to 11 wins easily. I just don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders anymore. I get it last season. Everyone knows that if Bo Nix didn't get hurt on the final, basically the final play of the game, they would have probably played in the Super Bowl against the Seahawks. Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
But I'm not saying they didn't even get better this offseason. They added Jalen Waddle. That was an amazing pickup for them. When I just look at the quarterbacks around the NFL, I just don't think Bo Nix is going to be able to beat a team like the Chiefs anymore in the playoffs. I don't think they'll be able to beat. I mean, I get it. It is a question mark. They beat them in the regular season, but I don't think they'll beat the Bills. I don't. I wouldn't even pick them over the Ravens, honestly, if the Ravens find a way to make the playoffs. So I just don't really trust Bo Nix
do you
like
like the
that.
Chargers over them?
Yes, I do like the Chargers over them. With that offensive line that they're going to have, that's projecting, I don't think they'll be able to stop them offensively. Even with the defense that they
Yeah,
have, like,
I mean, and Mike
and
McDonald's over there now too.
yeah, and
Not
exactly, it's
McDonald,
gonna be.
McDaniel.
Yeah, from the Dolphins. It's
Yep.
gonna be real scary over there. The holes that they had, they fixed one of them in Jalen Waddle, but like Cortland Sutton, I still think will be the wide receiver one on the team. Like that, you can call me crazy. I think he'll still be the wide receiver one, bro. Jalen Waddle is a better player than Cortland Sutton, but I don't think he'll be the wide receiver one on the team. J.K. Dobbins is your running back one. Running back one. I'm pretty sure we all know how that story ends.
Yeah, but
So you're gonna end up with RJ.
they drafted a beast in Jonah Coleman.
They did, but he's RB what 3 RB 4 on their depth chart right now.
He'll
So
be
how
RB one by October.
October? We'll see.
I mean, whether it's J.K. Dobbins' injury or talent shining, that's my prediction.
Hey, I mean Travion Anderson, in my opinion, was the better running back on the Patriots,
Yeah,
and he
true.
never
We
had
had
that
that
starting
prediction,
spot.
so who knows
Yeah,
there?
I mean, like when I just the roster, it looks amazing on paper. No, I just think last season that was their year, and I feel like just like the Buffalo Bills did that 1 13-second game, everyone thinks that was the year, and they just never got back to that spot. And I feel like, especially with the quarterback like Bo Nix, you have to take advantage like that of a season like that, the magical season that they just had last season. I don't think they'll get back to a spot like that again. No, I don't even think they matched up with the Texans again. I don't think they would beat the Texans in a playoff game. I don't think CJ Stroud is going to make the same mistakes that he
Well,
made. I don't think.
that was against the Patriots, but
Yeah, because it was the Patriots and the Steelers. Yeah, I'm tripping. That he
yeah.
played. CJ Stroud played, but yeah, I don't think he would even beat the Texans. I mean, it's gonna sound crazy because it's like they almost went to the Super Bowl
You think
last
they
season. I
missed the
just don't trust.
playoffs?
No, no shot.
Oh, do you think they do make the playoffs?
Yeah, I told you I think they're a playoff team.
Okay.
I just don't trust Bo Nix in the playoffs no more, especially with a healthy Patrick Mahomes. It wouldn't even surprise me if they were third in that division and they still made the playoffs, but they finished third in that division to the
Yeah.
Chiefs and to the Chargers. That would not shock me at all.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I disagree. I and maybe it's just what I see on my Twitter bubble that I'm in. People are selling on the Broncos. I think you join them. Um, their Super Bowl odds are 20-1 right now, which is like, what is that? This one, two, three, four, five, sixth best odds in the AFC. So I think like
Yeah, so wow.
I think Vegas is down on them as well, probably for some similar reasons to you. As of June 30th, when we're recording this, I'm still in on Denver. I can't find a reason to be out on them because all of the logic for why I was in on them last year kind of stands still. Like, I know Bo Nix isn't the best quarterback in that division. He's not even top two. Like, I would take Herbert and Mahomes over him fairly easily. But I don't think Bo Nix is a bad quarterback by any
He's
means.
not.
And I think he's probably around the 15th, 16th best quarterback. But in this Sean Payton system, like, he could be a 4,000 yard passer and have a 2, potentially 3-1 touchdown to interception ratio. They have 3 backs that I think are pretty decent. I think Jalen Waddle is a legit difference maker. I know we see that differently there, but Waddle, Sutton, and then they have some real depth with Franklin, Mims, and Pat Bryant. Like, I think there's 5 wide receivers on that roster that could go out there and make a play at any given time. The offensive line is still one of the best in football. Maybe
Yeah.
not the best in the division if the Chargers line is healthy, and especially with some of the changes they made this offseason, but I still think it's top 5 in football, and the defense kind of the same boat. I still think this is a top 5-ish defense in football. They still have Nick Bonito. They have a Zach Allen. We'll see what happens with Jonathan Cooper. That's kind of a little concerning to me if they don't end up having him, but they have Roach, Singleton, Hufunga, Pat Surtain, Jade Barron still. So I,
Forgot about Barron. He's a demon.
I just can't I just can't sell my stock on this team, and maybe I'm just willing to die with the ship. But I just think the roster's too good. And I think if there's anything we learned over the last 2 football seasons, it's that the roster, like the Eagles won 2 years ago because they had the best roster. Seattle won last year because they had the best roster. Bo Nix is in the same tier of quarterbacks as Sam Darnold.
Fair.
I and I think that Denver's roster got better, and they have a good coach in Sean Payton. So to me, I can't call this team overrated, but I get it, right? Like, for the past half decade before this, we were seeing Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen light shit up in the playoffs. Herbert's got a healthy offensive line now. The Texans' defense, I think, is better on paper, and you could argue offensive weapons, like player for player, the Texans are better there if you wanted to make that push. You have teams like Cincinnati who have a Joe Burrow. Virtually, the thing that is concerning for me with Denver is if all the teams that we think are going to make the playoffs, I prefer virtually every quarterback they'd go up against. But they also
Yeah.
but they also just beat Josh Allen in a playoff game. So like they
Except for
proved
CJ, I mean, maybe.
yeah, that's close, but Drake May, not close. Josh Allen, not close. Lamar Jackson, not close. Mahomes, not close. Herbert, not close. Joe Burrow, not close. Like the AFC has so many dogs at quarterback that virtually every playoff game that they go into, you're going to prefer the other team's quarterback. So I do think they need to have the regular season success more than some other teams. Like I think a bye week in a 1 seed could be much more valuable to them to prevent their path from having to be Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or something of that idea. Drake May into Patrick Mahomes into Lamar Jackson. Like no matter which way you turn it, it's like 3 top 10 quarterbacks that they'd have to face on their way to a
Yeah,
Super
it's
Bowl
insane.
if they don't get that bye week. And I think also have making teams come to Denver Mile High where they're not used to playing with the weather can be an advantage for them. So the regular season definitely matters to them. I'm not out on them. You are. You have them as overrated. 2 teams today of yours that I kind of disagreed with the Broncos and Vikings. Pretty typically we see eye to eye, but um, you know, it's just the way the cookie crumbled in this video. So at least those teams had somebody representing in the video. Vikings fans, I'm like half in representing you. Broncos fans, though, I got you the whole way for sure.
It's
um,
insane, bro. Like everybody always talks about the Seahawks and Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl, and people always say, "Well, Bo Nix, he's good enough to win a Super Bowl." Blah blah blah. He's good enough to win a Super Bowl, but the Seahawks were perfect on 3 phases of the football. How many
mhm.
teams are like that good on all phase? Like they were perfect on
I
special
I just
teams.
think Denver has the ability to be.
Yeah, I mean their defense alone. I think their defense is better than Seattle. So, but it's
Ooh,
just the fact that they were. You don't think so?
that Denver's defense is better than Seattle's? No.
Going into next
Well,
season, they
well,
lost. They
they
lost
lost
some
some
pieces, bro.
guys. Lost
Yeah,
Boye Mafe, lost Reek Woolen. Um, it's close going into next season. I think I'd still give the edge to Seattle just because they have Mike McDonald.
that's fair.
But
that
let us know in the comment section what teams you think are being overrated going into the 2026 NFL season. We appreciate your guys' support. As always, all of our socials are linked down below. If you have any questions, we didn't get any last video, and I made the mistake of not bringing it up at the beginning of the video again, so maybe you already clicked off, but we could be doing a Q&A type beat going forward, so let us know down in the comment section down below. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.